Have you ever had one of those mornings that feel cursed before they even start? That was me. Tuesday, 8:17 am. Coffee in hand, halfway through my toast, when the knock came. 3 sharp raps like the door itself was accusing me. I opened it, and there she was, Karen. Brenda, really. But around our cul-de-sac. Names don't matter. Same bob haircut, same clipboard, same HOA badge pinned like a badge of honor. Mr. Collins, she began, squinting as if she could read my soul. We've had some complaints about your driveway. I blinked. You mean the driveway I paid for? She corrected, tightening her lips. It's not compliant with community aesthetics. My ramp, the one I built so my daughter Lily, wheelchair-bound since her accident, could actually leave the house without me carrying her like luggage. I forced calm into my voice. Karen, it's Ada approved. My wife signed off on the permit herself. She arched an eyebrow. Your wife isn't the HOA board, thank God. I muttered under my breath. That's when Lily wheeled up behind me, sleepy-eyed but smiling. Is everything okay, Dad? Karen's face tightened. We're just discussing some non-compliance issues. Lily, bless her, whispered. You mean my ramp? Karen didn't flinch. Rules are rules, sweetie. There it was, the sweetie. Something about the way she said it made it clear kindness was a language she'd only read about in a manual. Then she handed me a notice of violation, folded perfectly, printed in red ink like a threat disguised as stationery, and strutted back to her white SUV plastered with HOA Pride bumper stickers. As the engine roared off, Lily looked up at me, wide-eyed. She's not going to make us take it down, right? I knelt beside her, forcing a smile. I didn't feel. Not a chance, kiddo. She doesn't know who she's dealing with. Truth was, neither did I. That knock on the door was just the first domino. By the time the last one fell, it would land inside a courtroom. By Friday, Karen had turned my ramp into a neighborhood scandal. Flyers appeared in mailboxes about unauthorized modifications, allegedly lowering property values. Someone even posted our house on the HOA Facebook page with the caption, "Rules apply to everyone." It felt like living in a reality show, except the villains were real. And they held monthly meetings in someone's basement. That evening, I was wheeling Lily to the car for physical therapy when Karen appeared again. This time with a measuring tape and a man named Doug, self-proclaimed HOA compliance officer. Doug wore cargo shorts and the smug grin of a man who'd never lost an argument on Nextdoor. Karen crouched by the ramp, pulling the tape taut. 5'6". Setback code requires 6 feet. Even. You're in violation, Mr. Collins. I crossed my arms. You're measuring from the gutter. It starts from the foundation. Doug puffed up. Sir, please don't interfere with an official HOA inspection. Official asked. You're standing in my yard with the tape measure and a bad attitude. Karen straightened, pen poised over her clipboard. Failure to comply within 7 days will result in fines and possible legal action. Lily's voice cut through. You're going to sue us for a ramp? Karen sighed dramatically. It's not personal, dear. It's about community standards. That night, sleep eluded me. Emily, my wife, sat beside me in bed, laptop open, scanning HOA bylaws. She was quiet for a long time before saying, they don't have jurisdiction over accessibility modifications approved under state code. I raised an eyebrow. You sure? Her lips curved into a half smile. Positive. And they definitely don't know who filed the approval. She shut the laptop and turned off the lamp. If they want to fight, we'll give them one. The next morning, a bright orange lien notice was taped to our door. HOA letterhead, signed by Karen herself. But the line that made me blink, plaintiff. Homeowners Association of Brookage Estates v. Collins family. We'd just been sued. The court was set for the following Thursday. By then, word had spread faster than gossip at a bake sale. Neighbors peeked through blinds as we loaded Lily's chair into the van, whispering like we were some kind of outlaw family. Karen arrived at the courthouse early, of course dressed like a corporate CEO ready to crush a small business. Clipboard in one hand, Starbucks in the other, tight-lipped smile screaming, "Justice will be served by me." Lily fidgeted in her lap. Dad, do you think they'll make us take it down? I squeezed her shoulder. Not if the law still means something. Karen paused as she walked past, dropping a sharp line over her shoulder. I hope you brought your checkbook. Then clicked away down the hall. Inside the courtroom, fluorescent lights hummed overhead. The air smelled of old carpet and paperwork. I tried to stay calm, but my pulse felt like a drum solo. Karen stood proudly at the plaintiff's table, papers stacked neatly. Doug sat behind her, tie looking borrowed from a high school graduation. Across from them, me, Lily, and our lawyer friend Tony, who owed me a favor after I fixed his roof for half price. Then the bailiff called out, "All rise for the honorable judge." Pause. Judge Collins. Karen's smile flickered. From the chamber door, Emily stepped out, full robes, gavel in hand, calm and commanding, a storm in still water. Karen went pale. "Wait, your wife is the judge?" Emily didn't look at her. "Court is now in session." Lily's eyes sparkled. "Mom looks awesome," she whispered. Karen, though, was fuming. She stammered something about conflict of interest, judicial misconduct, and a dozen other complaints, but Emily raised a hand. "Miss Brenda, please be seated. You'll have your turn to speak." It was the first time I'd ever seen Karen obey an order without arguing. My relief was brief. Just when I thought things couldn't get more surreal, Karen's purse began beeping sharp electronic chirps that sliced through the courtroom. Everyone froze. Karen reached in and pulled out a black metallic device. A taser. Before anyone could react, she lunged toward Lily, shouting something about faking disabilities. There was a pop, a flash. Lily screamed. That snap crack of the taser burned itself into my brain. Time slowed. Everything froze for a heartbeat, then exploded into chaos. Lily's chair jolted violently as she cried out, a thin wisp of smoke curling from the tiny stun mark on her arm. I was across the room before I even realized I'd moved. Lily, Karen stood there, wide-eyed, taser still raised. She lunged at me, screaming, voice cracking with rage. Emily's gavel slammed down with a thunderous echo. "Bailiff, disarm her." Ramirez, the courthouse bailiff, a broad man with no time for nonsense, sprinted forward. The taser clattered across the floor, sliding under a bench. Karen tried to protest, shouting half-sentences about self-defense and community safety, but nobody was listening anymore. I knelt beside Lily, heart hammering, checking her pulse while holding back my fury. "You okay, sweetheart?" She nodded weakly, glassy but alive. "It just burned," she whispered. Tony, our lawyer friend, had already called paramedics. Meanwhile, Emily stepped down from the bench. No longer a judge, just a mother. She crouched beside us, voice low but trembling with controlled fury. "She's done. Absolutely done." Karen, cuffed and in shock, muttered, "You people think you're above the rules." Emily turned to her, cold and steady. "No, Brenda, we just don't weaponize them." The courtroom doors burst open as EMTs rushed in, lifting Lily onto a stretcher. She looked up at me, trying to smile through the pain. "Guess court was electric," she joked weakly. Even then, she found a way to lighten the moment. I managed a shaky laugh. "That's my girl." As they wheeled her out, I glanced back. Karen was being read her rights, still muttering about HOA authority. Doug had quietly slipped out the side door, being suddenly self-conscious, like a child caught sneaking cookies. The courtroom was quiet now, except for the hum of the vents and the click of Emily's heels as she returned to the bench. She looked at me, then at the bailiff. "Record this hearing as a journaled entry," she instructed softly. Then she gazed down at her trembling hands, took a deep breath, and whispered, "But this isn't over yet." And she was right. What happened after the taser was only the beginning. Once the courtroom had settled, Lily was safe, wrapped in a blanket in her wheelchair, eyes wide but glimmering with relief. The paramedics had checked her over, and aside from a few minor burns and bruises, she was okay. I exhaled for the first time in days, though my hands still trembled. Karen sat cuffed at the side, muttering about legal loopholes and power trips, but no one paid attention. The bailiff escorted her out, and even Doug, the HOA sidekick, seemed embarrassed for the first time, ducking behind courthouse pillars like a guilty child. Emily stood at the bench, hand raised. calm but fierce. The court finds the plaintiff's claims invalid. The HOA has overstepped its authority. No fines, no removal orders, and any further harassment will be considered contempt of court. The words hit me like a wave: relief, disbelief, and a quiet pride mingling together. Lily looked up at her mom. "You saved us," she whispered. Emily smiled, brushing a loose strand of hair from Lily's forehead. "We did, all of us." Neighbors trickled into the courtroom, some still peeking from doorways, all witnessing the aftermath. I felt their eyes on us, the hum of gossip replaced with quiet respect. Even in defeat, Karen had wanted a spectacle, but we had turned the tables without losing our humanity. Outside, cameras flashed as reporters swarmed, hungry for a story of HOA overreach gone too far. I didn't care about the attention. What mattered was that my daughter could now live safely at home, and we had stood together as a family. Walking out, the weight of the past days lifted from my shoulders. The ramp remained, the house remained, and our dignity, something Karen had tried to trample, remained intact. Emily gave me a sidelong glance, eyes twinkling with quiet confidence. "Next time," she whispered, "we won't even need the courtroom." Lily grinned, exhausted but victorious, and I realized we had all grown stronger through the chaos. Karen may have tried to break us, but instead, she reminded us how fierce we could be when we fought for each other. For the first time in a long while, it felt like the world had tilted back in our favor. If this story hit home, tap like, because every stand against injustice deserves to be heard. Subscribe to Karen's Hub and never miss a moment when ordinary people fight back and win. And tell me in the comments, if it were your family on the line, how far would you go to make things right?